English translation 108th contact. Thursday, 1st June 1978, 1831 it's yours.
Human children, you have not been here for a long time.
You know, nevertheless, that we were very busy.
Of course I did, indeed, say nothing about that. But you really have not been here for a long time, and now, you finally come back, just to bang around on my drum.
Why, my friend, do you assume that?
Sim Yase already made hell for me when she was here on the 20th of May. She also said that you two were working out some analyses and plans, after which I can then piece together the rest myself.
Your assumption is not so wrong, for I really have to speak a very serious word with you.
Then just begin immediately, so I will then have the sermon behind me.
You should not take it in such a manner because the things are not of insignificance.
Certainly not, but on the other hand, I also did not claim that. I know, just to tell you up front, that I have neglected my whole work, and also have not striven for it anymore. I know that I devoted myself to other things and carried out manual activities, as you so nicely call it. But damn it, every now and then I also need some exercise. I am not a person who can just constantly sit in the office, without being able to move around. Already since childhood, as you know, I have learned to work, and indeed damn hard. And I cannot simply throw this all overboard now. It is not suitable for me just to lie around idle and twiddle my thumbs. Otherwise, I will go crazy.
You have your work and are fully occupied by it. Never mind that. What he is doing with the work is already of correctness. After all, he feels and thinks correctly in this regard that he must operate manually every now and then. It is not given to him to live without physical activity. Every now and then he must bring his physical strength to application. He has learned to work manually through extremely hard training, and from time to time he needs this physical activity even today and in the future. About that I am oriented very precisely and very well. But you, my friend, you really exaggerate these things. For in recent months, you have devoted yourself almost only to manual activities despite several admonitions, and have thereby neglected and omitted your most important work and task. But I certainly do not have to talk about this anymore, because my daughter has already done this well enough. Thus, I will only reiterate that her explanations correspond to our thoughts fully and completely, and that everything will be handled in accordance with her words.
I know that, and I also see that I have committed serious mistakes. But see, Ptah, it is really true that if the shop is to run with us, then I just have to give instructions and work with them, for there are not many among us who are knowledgeable in all works.
That is indeed of correctness, but it does not excuse you or the others. You should have done your work, and the others should have done those works that fall within their work areas. For this, it would have only been necessary for them to have learned their tasks so that they could have carried these out in the meantime, independently, and without your instructions. But not only with the manual activities has everything fallen into neglect, but also with various other things, whereby everything has not progressed in such a form as it was actually intended. Thus, with the help of Quetzal, I have made analyses in the past few days with regard to all group members, which yielded some rather unpleasant results. On the whole, the moral sentiment is not exactly the best with all, and it is of urgent necessity that the necessary steps are taken against this. In certain cases, even a true indifference prevails, which is also no longer allowed to accrue further. So, in the particular case with the brothers Hans and Conrad. But complaints toward various others must also be brought forth, So also in reference to the efforts of the meditation, since various ones do not even try to include themselves in the meditative exercises in the Sohar Center, which is extremely regrettable.
I know, Ptah, but what should I do about that? If no interest is available for it, then that is not my thing. Moreover, it has now come so far that I had to close the center, since I cannot raise the necessary funds for the heating bill anymore. The heating for the center alone cost me about 900 francs per quarter, which I can no longer bear myself. In real trouble and need. I was still able to pay the bill for this time using all possible means, but now I am lacking the other 2,000 francs for the other bills, which I already should have paid 14 days ago. So is it now just so that I had to close the center and can probably no longer put it into operation this year because I simply cannot raise 300 francs every month in order to pay for heating?
Under no circumstances may this be, for the meditative exercises are extremely important and may not be interrupted.
You can talk easily. On the other hand, only very few have really tried to do these exercises.
Although your words are of correctness, you must find a way so that the center can be used.
I just cannot do it, otherwise I will croak by lack of funds. If I cannot pay the electricity bills on time, then our power will simply be shut off.
Then you must speak with the group members because the meditative exercises in the Sohar Center may not be interrupted. Moreover, it has become necessary that we now determine for the individual group members when and how often they complete their exercises. Those who do not conform to this and who also keep themselves away from it for trivial reasons must be finally and irrevocably excluded from this without pardon, and to be sure, for all time. But this also applies, as my daughter already explained, to all remaining tasks. Whoever must be excluded, this one's power storage will, contrary to earlier explanations, be eliminated by us immediately and irrevocably from the centerpiece in the Sohar Center. Too much has already left the right tracks, and that is why we could not let ourselves be drawn into your new promises again. The whole proposed plan is already extremely disturbed by the constant senselessness of the group, and there is no longer a possibility to carry out this plan in full. For this reason, we had to submit all concerns to the High Council, which is now examining the remaining possibilities for achieving the goal, after which you and the group will be informed about it. Claire, through her malice and her selfish actions in her incomprehensible inconsistency, has inflicted the worst damage to us, you, and our task. But various others have also caused irreparable damage, who have treacherously stepped aside from the group and their task, and who were chosen for specific tasks. All of them should no longer find a way back into the internal group, which has to deal with the actual task. Their storage in the center have already been eliminated, and they should not and may not be given the possibility of joining the internal group again, of learning matters of importance from it, or of entering the Sohar Center even once. From now on, all information and reports, etc., are not to be made accessible to them any longer. In the particular case, this concerns the following former internal group members: Amata, Margaret Rufer, Renato, Mariella, Hans Jacob, Margrethe Flammer, Olga Walder, Maya, Adolf Barot, Helga, and Micho. These ones named may find no re-entry into the internal group, and may no longer receive any information of importance or any contact reports.
But Ptah, Quetzal conceded some time ago that a period of 8 months should be given to them. Moreover, Maya is not called Maya, but rather Maria.
The 8 months have been declared by the High Council to be inadequate and wrong. According to their advice, Only a definitive dismissal of those mentioned without the possibility of return is of value, for a return would newly call the same dangers and problems into appearance, already after a short time. Thus, we must act in a definitive form because we can no longer afford renewed differences. Ausartingen, having gotten very badly out of control of the good human nature, grudges, etc., and renewed failures. If we would nevertheless accept this, then everything would be irretrievably destroyed, and we would not have another possibility. Even now, as I already explained, the High Council must seek a new solution for our objective in order to still be able to bring it to an end. But this will be the last possibility because there will not be another one anymore. Truly, it is very difficult to grasp. But nevertheless, it is like this. That which we have prepared for hundreds and thousands of years in strict and constant effort, and which seemed irrevocable to us, has been ruined and destroyed by some irrational, selfish, inconsistent, treacherous, and intellectually impoverished Earth humans, as well as by internal and best-informed group members, whereby we are forced to look for a new way if we want to do justice to our task. How much irrationality, treachery, slander, tyranny, selfishness, lying, deception, intellectual poverty, and rational poverty must still also truly be concealed in those fallible Earth humans who are already moving in somewhat higher consciousness-related courses. This is a very deplorable factor, which has only fully come to our awareness now, however, and which we also, unfortunately, had not included in our calculations. To your other issue, however, my name designation for Maya is of correctness because she is called Maya among us in accordance with her values, but that should certainly no longer be of importance.
Your remarks leave no doubt of the situation, and I have already feared something like that. But what should happen now?
As Ptah explained to you, the High Council is now seeking a last possibility of a solution because all plans have been destroyed nearly down to the last detail and have become almost inoperable. For my part, I can explain in this relation just as little as also Ptah, for we do not even have a notion of how this last resort solution will look. The only certainty is that with the group members who have stepped aside, their normal life flow now comes into operation again, and no benefit will be pushed toward them anymore because...
By that, do you mean that their additional lifespans will fall by this, and death will overtake them according to their old existing values?
That will be the case, yes.
Then we can already prepare ourselves for that, because the first data is already due in...
Quiet. Be more careful of what you say, for what you say could become known despite all precautions, due to any mistakes. The fallible ones should in no wise obtain any information about these concerns, at least not until their time, which will be in the first half of the 21st century for all of them.
Sorry, that was not my intention. Moreover, I think that you are also quite careless, even if you have made no exact data for those still remaining.
You interrupted me just when I wanted to explain to you that, through them no longer participating in the task suggested by us all, the intended 12-year longer lifespans of these yielded members becomes null and void, and they themselves, through their betrayal, have already completely eliminated the relevant value impulses stored in them, which they received through the special long-lying reclining times in the Sohar Center, as is known to you. Through all the malicious incidents in the all-destructive form, these impulses were also completely eliminated in all other fallible group members by themselves. And as we now know from the High Council, it is likely to be the case that for those remaining and for newcomers in this relation, new values must be brought into being, but these will no longer amount uniformly to 12 years, but only purely individually according to the achieved state of evolution. So, for example, it will only be a few weeks or months for one group member, but several years for another. This also corresponds sooner to the thinking of the Earth human being, so therefore also to the group members. Anyway, they were not responsive to a standardization, according to which that which is right and good would have been equally awarded to everyone, by what means every group member would have, therefore, received the same amount in every respect. Unfortunately, the thinking of the group members is not yet aligned with this form of justice, which is why we can also no longer act in accordance with this. The thinking of the group members is often aligned in the wrong form, so that they make demands for their actions, thoughts, services, and efforts because they feel encouraged by their crazy and wrong thinking and do not want to understand that this is an evil, strife-producing, and incorrect form that is based on egoism. One may neither think nor act in this form. However, because it works destructively down to the last detail when profound reasons do not exist for such praise, as this was sometimes the case, for example, with your cannibal. We tried to teach you all the correct form by classifying everyone into the same values and giving everyone the same values for processing and evolution. But this was not recognized or appreciated in the prevailing egoism. Thus, we are forced to act according to purely earthly values, as these are also grasped and understood by the group members. But this means that our entire mission suffers damage through this, and that everything will take much longer than what was anticipated and calculated.
That is of correctness, and Quetzal speaks entirely in accordance with my sense. There is just one thing that I do not understand in his explanations, namely that he speaks of a cannibal.
That is quite simple, my son. Quetzal and I have our pleasure in calling my wife by this name.
Ha 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 ha, you and ha 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 ha. That is just like the two of you. Ha 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 ha, that is really amusing, despite the deep seriousness of the situation. Ha ha ha, you are good, really. Cannibal, ha ha ha, that really sounds very good. May I also? Will you ask your wife if I may also call her that in my old age? It also gives me pleasure, Cannibal. Ha 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 ha, the name really has something in it.
Calm down, my son, I will ask already. Surely she will be in agreement with it. We also have another barbarian, in addition to my cannibal.
Ah ha ha ha, and who should that be?
Maria, the ruler of the herd boss Engelbert.
Ah?
Ha 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 ha.
Why are you laughing?
I find your cluelessness so amusing.
It is probably time for us to go, for apparently can we no longer find reasonable forms of conversation. Moreover, I have explained what had to be explained, except that in several days we will bring you very exact instructions for the individual group members and their sphere of activity, as this was announced to you by my daughter.
You spoil sport, but apparently you do nevertheless understand a joke, my son.
We also have a sense of humor and understanding for that, even if yours is often strange. But now, goodbye, my friend, although I could be several times your father rather than your son.
Ta, you are as good as gold. Bye then, and greet your people very cordially. Even you, Quetzal, farewell.
Goodbye, and see you soon.
Bye to you both, you humorous guys.
Do not forget to give everyone very dear greetings.
That should also be my wish, and greet your cannibal in love for me.
You human eater, you probably want to make me alienated, eh? But now take care and goodbye.
Intermediate conversation. 108th contact. Excluded from the public for the time being.
In the last few days, I came across something that makes me think. Actually, I already figured out the results for it last year, but these were not then mentioned in the predictions for the year 1978, because I thought it would be too dangerous.
Then express yourself about it. What depresses you about it, and what does it concern?
This does not depress me, and it concerns Pope Paul VI. Last year, my probability calculations yielded that he would have to die this year. Now, this calculation has simply bothered me recently, which is why I tried to get more exact and more precise data. And through this, I encountered a very specific date and a very specific time. Now, I just wonder if my calculation does not have any mistakes, and if everything is actually right.
Then give me the data.
Okay, see here, I wrote it down there. The day of death is the 6th of August, 1978. I have calculated the time with the result of 2040 HRs and 13 seconds. The death, according to my calculations, should occur by a heart attack, in which case the body will give up its function as a result of an oxygen deficiency.
You were very thorough in your calculations because you gave me the same data that we ourselves already fathomed years ago through an apparatus-based analysis. But do you also know the place where the spirit of the man will leave the body?
If my calculations are right then, and if I describe the place correctly, then it must be the Pope's summer residence, Castel Gandolfo.
That is also of absolute correctness, but say nothing about that and also explain nothing about that to the members of your group. It could lead to dangerous effects. It was also very wise of you that you mentioned nothing about these matters in the annual predictions.
I thought that myself. But I also concealed other things.
You will have your reasons for that.
I do have those, and I will also remain silent. But many dear thanks for your confirmation. Anyway, I am quite happy that I have calculated the data correctly.
That is understandable to me. Just continue to work in this form.
I am already doing that, have no fear. In any case, many thanks again.